And we try to go one shoebox, one child, one lifetime. And then when they do an outreach, they have to do an outreach event, they have to share the gospel. We have the greatest gift booklet that's in their language that we hand them that goes back to their home so that the parents get to read the book or is read to them by children. So one shoebox reaches about 10 people. And then we invite everybody back for a discipleship program. It's 12 lessons, and it's what the gospel is, how to grow in the gospel, and how to share the gospel. And then the children are commissioned to go out into the world. And so,
working with the local church to take the hope of Christ to every student in the United States. This is First Priority. Now here are your hosts, Steve Cherico and Brad Skelling.
Well, welcome everybody to the First Party Podcast. We are glad that you are here. We've got a show for you today. As you can see, not only do I have my friend Steve Cherico in the studio.
Welcome back.
But I have my friend Dave McNeil with Samaritans Purse with us as well.
it's good to be here.
Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Glad to be here.
Dave, we expected you to jump in a little bit there in the harmonizing. Were you going to finish what I started there? Or
You do not want me singing. I'll tell you that right now. You do not want me to carry a tune at all.
We'll let Brad edit himself in there later then. No problem.
Sure.
No problem at all.
Mm-hmm. Be New Kids on the Block.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
Need some loud music so you don't hear me singing. That's why I love loud.
Hand him an
loud
instrument. Hand him a tambourine and off we go.
There we go. We can do a lot. Well, Dave, you work with Samaritans Purse. Mm-hmm. You and I have known each other for a couple years now.
Yeah.
So will you introduce yourself to our audience and tell them who you are, where you're from, and maybe a little bit even your heart for ministry and
Absolutely.
get us started.
Yeah, so my name's Dave McNeil, as he said, and I am the manager of student partnerships and ministry with Samaritans Purse, specifically Operation Christmas Child. But I come from a background of student ministry in the church, so 30 plus years doing student ministry in the local church. Took a stint there with Lifeway Christian Resources and ran a domestic missions partnership there, and then moved to Samaritan's Purse because of student ministry to help activate 15 to 22-year-olds in Operation Christmas Child, global evangelism.
Yep.
And so I have a heart for student ministry. I want students to know the Lord, love the Lord, live for the Lord, and then be able to activate their faith in their local community as well as outside and globally. And that's what we do through Samaritan's Purse Operation Christmas Child.
Well, I didn't prep you for this question, but what's one of your favorite moments in working with students through the years? What's the highlight for you?
Oh gosh, life change, right?
Yeah.
And so when you see a life change, I just recently ran into a student that came to student ministry for a girl, right? Who hasn't come because of a pretty girl. And we sat down, shared the gospel one night. He was crying. It was a tough water polo player in California. And I saw him on the stairwell just crying. And I'm like, Kendrick, what's up? And he's like, I don't know if God can forgive me for my sin. And he gave his life to Jesus right there. He became a Marine, a military sniper, taught sniper school, went to seminary, is now a pastor in Southern California, and did his ordination. And I mean, it's just, those kind of things are like, student ministers, hang in there, because
Right.
10 years from now, you'll get a note from one person. Keep those notes in a file,
right.
and you'll hear that you did have an impact. So hang in there. That's the most important thing.
I've got a file.
Yeah. This is my 30-year file is about that thick, but every so often you need to just go back and say, okay, yes, yes.
That's
God,
right.
God's using it somehow. So
It's awesome.
yeah.
It's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about your heart for Samaritan's Purse. How did you end up in there, and where are you at?
Yeah, so years ago, about 5-6 years ago, Samaritan's Purse wanted to make sure the next generation is involved in global evangelism. So they started an initiative to really engage 15 to 22-year-olds, because normally people pack shoe boxes up through their 12 years of age, and then they usually drop off because they're not packing for somebody their own age, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then they'll engage when they have children again. But you don't get as many people engaging. So Samaritan's Purse knows that in order for this to continue on, that they need the next generation. And it's a great way to global ministry, evangelism from your own home. And so we don't want students to miss out on that kind of opportunity as well. And so they have this initiative. So they brought in somebody who knows student ministry. And again, I've been in the world, so I know people like you and people in other organizations that we can help partner with to get the next generation really involved in global evangelism, but also in the local context. So your students, their friends, like children around the world, right? And so there's an opportunity for you to do an evangelistic opportunity that's going to go around the world, but also in your own context. So in your clubs, you can have a packing party, bring in students who are lost, and then they love children, so it's better than pizza, right? Because they're doing something that matters, and then you share the gospel with them. So it's another way to attract them, and then we've used the local church. And so it's another way for your clubs to be involved in the local church as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
You said this is a young initiative, 5 or 6 years old. Tell me about some of the things that you've gone through to help the initiative gain ground over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so they really want to partner with like-minded organizations. So the first thing we do is look for like-minded organizations. So it is national organizations like yourselves that are going into the churches and student ministry and the schools and those kind of things. So we partner with like-minded organizations, and then we partner with Christian colleges across the United States as well. So we have partnerships with them, and we've grown about 13 partners in the last 2 years. And so we just value people who are passionate about, again, what Samaritan's Purse does. We're involved specifically like right now. So to give you some context of Samaritan's Purse is in the Ukraine. So shoe boxes that were packed in the United States, 600,000 of those dropped in the Ukraine about 2 days before the war started.
Oh, wow.
And so we have 3,200 church partners in the Ukraine that we're going to distribute shoe boxes and do outreach opportunities with that. And then they're all invited back for discipleship as well. So there's a 12-lesson discipleship program that happens after we give the shoe box out. But that has become, as all the refugees are coming west, the 3,200 churches are using, and there's children that are just without parents or just with their mom because their dads are staying back and fighting. So they're coming through these churches, and they're a hub. So they have this gift that landed just at the right time. Wow. They can give the children something that gives them a little bit of hope and some joy. But also with that, we have a way of getting a supply chain of humanitarian aid into those churches as well. So they're hosting refugees, they're helping place refugees, but they're also helping refugees kind of step out of Ukraine through the church network. And so Samaritan's Purse is on the ground with hospitals as well, but specifically Operation Christmas Child has really been essential, having those partnerships for years with those pastors, and now we can use it to glorify God in those. There's so many stories that it's just, you'd have to go on our website to just look the stories and take your tissues, because it's inspiring, but it's also what God's doing, but there's evil happening too. So it's we're glad to be part of what God's doing in the world.
And I think one of the assumptions we made on the front end, and this is a little bit on our end, is that people understood what Operation Christmas Child was just because we've been a part of it for so long.
I would say that.
But it would be great for you just to give just a quick synopsis of what that plan is and kind of its tenure, right? Yeah. And that'll really help folks understand the engagement on the ground level with the area that you just talked about.
Yeah. So you take a shoebox, hygiene items, school supplies, and toys. You pick a gender and an age group, and you hand that into us. So we have 0 until somebody hands us a shoebox, right? We work through the local churches and through organizations like yourselves who give us shoebox. We take that shoebox. There's 8 processing centers across the United States. We go through every shoebox to make sure nothing in there is going to harm a child or keep us from get through customs. So like toothpaste can break open, can leak out of a box, then a whole sea train container of 20,000 boxes can't get into a country. And so we make sure that there's certain restrictions we have on what you can put in a box, no liquid so it can't leak out, again, keep us from getting into a country. And so we look through every box, and then we send them off to the country. When they're opened up in that country, it's a national team. It's not North Americans taking these shoe boxes. They go through the national team, and then they have church partners, like-minded partners. And we try to go one shoe box, one child, one lifetime, so that we're rotating partners so that we're not always hitting this. We want as many children to know the gospel as we can. And then when they do an outreach, they have to do an outreach event. They have to share the gospel. We have the greatest gift booklet that's in their language that we hand them that goes back to their home so that the parents get to read the book or is read to them by children. So we reach, one shoebox reaches about 10 people. And then we invite everybody back for a discipleship program. It's 12 lessons, and it's what the gospel is, how to grow in the gospel, and how to share the gospel. And then the children are commissioned to go out into the world. And so we're seeing about over 1,000 churches every year planted through these outreach events. Wow. That children are coming, and then churches are starting, and parents are coming to know the Lord, and churches are planted. Wow. In unreached people groups. We're partnered with the Seed Ministry. We're in Namibia where they don't have a written language, so we translated our our information into MP3, solar-powered MP3 players, so they're hearing the gospel for the first time in their language. And we have videos of them sitting underneath the meeting tree, which is now a church. And that tribal leader said, we need this message to go to the other tribe on the other mountaintop. And so it's hopscotching across the mountains in Namibia as well. So it's things like that. And then I told you about the Ukraine. But the Lord is using it. It's a simple shoebox, but he's using it in incredible ways.
What's the website? Because you referenced the website earlier that people could go.
SamaritansPurse.org/OCC.
Okay.
Yep.
Operation Christmas Child.
Yep. Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like my other question would be, because we're just scaling into this organizationally, but for those of us that are on listening to the podcast that are directors, like myself, or a coordinator, right, that says, okay, I have a familiarity with the shoebox, right, because as a family have done it.
Yeah.
But now you're telling me that what I do for a daily living, what I do for my mission and vision, right, is really going to engage this on a student level and give them more mission, right?
Yep.
So do you have even inklings at this point, without giving it all away, of where our engagement's going to be between First Priority and Samaritan's Purse?
Well, we would love First Priority clubs across the nation to be involved, for sure. Because again, it's a way that our partnership is, one, you guys use the local church, right? And so we want to partner with the local church, and we want your students involved in the local church as well. So that's one engagement there. The next level is that it's an event for them to do global evangelism, the students specifically, and learn about evangelism. But it's also an outreach opportunity for those clubs to bring in lost students as well. So it kind of, when I say we're like-minded, I mean we're so like-minded in your vision and our vision for what's going to happen, not just globally, but in your own clubs. And so that's how we are so like-minded in that's the pathway forward for us, I believe. And so we want to just help serve and resource you in that. We have area teams that are near you and your club, so you can reach out. We're going to use this network to get you connected with service and resources and everything that you need in your areas.
Yep. And I guess I see it too. You talk about the partnership, where if we get a First Priority club in Nashville, in Southern Williamson County, where I live, let's just use that example, and we have those 10 kids that are passionate about the gospel start saying, hey, we need to fill 20 shoeboxes in their school. Like you said, that is going to bring more people into the club during December, or probably November, right? It'd be November.
Late October, we collect third week of November.
Okay. So it does get that club that spark to say, hey, let's start gathering people into the room. And it could be a great opportunity for those students to share the gospel as well. Because who doesn't like serving the poor, but there are people who don't like serving the poor out there, right?
Yeah.
And some of them go to high school. But you can turn that club of 10 students into a club of 50 if you want to fill 50 shoeboxes and say, hey, we're going to get in together in a room, we're going to put these things together, and that's their opportunity to share the gospel with 50 of their friends.
Exactly. It's such an easy on-ramp. And so I hate for people to miss out. It's just a great tool in the toolbox. There's lots of organizations, and there's lots of opportunities for community service. You want to do it in your local community as well. But this is just such an easy on-ramp. And again, I appreciate your partnership in this because you're making it easy, and you see the value of it.
Right.
And we see the value of you, because I'm passionate, again, about student ministry and that student knowing the Lord in that local school. So that's why I'm so passionate about this partnership as well.
Cool. Well, we look forward to seeing what happens this fall with the partnership.
That's good. That's good. Brad, if some of our directors have questions specifically, who would you like them to email or to reach out to about how they get involved this upcoming year? Is that you?
Am I supposed to be serious or funny? Steve at spofamerica.com.
I knew where that was coming. This one was a serious one, but I've paid my dues on that. So yes, which one of the at FP Americas do you want them to reach out to?
So it would be either myself or Warren. Okay. Warren R at fpofamerica.com or Brad at fpofamerica.com. Okay. Either one of us will connect. I'm sure Dave would be willing to answer questions as well. The three of us communicate regularly, so we can answer those questions and make sure that our partnership is moving forward.
Yeah. And they can email OCC at SamaritansPurse.com.
OCC students
at SamaritansPurse.com.
Perfect.
Yep, great.
So, anything else?
No, man, that's a great podcast. I'm pretty fired up about it. I'm thinking about our October, November we're at the verge, when this podcast comes out, we're at the verge of planning all of our next year, right? We're there. So the idea that this is going to be part of that in October, November for Nashville that I lead, that fires me up.
That's right. Well, if you haven't been to a spring meeting already, because this is coming out the morning of Decaters, you'll hear about it at your spring meeting, and coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we can have a more in-depth conversation about it. So Any parting words, Dave?
I would just thank you for the partnership and for you guys catching the vision and us being able to serve the Lord in this way.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. It's good.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. As always, give this one a 5-star rating because Dave's good looking, better than Steve anyway. And we can kind of go from there and further the kingdom together. Until next time, thanks for listening.